Wunder, you're never going to get a play. It's not going to happen. Elise not giving it over to Trashy. Unicorns of Love, they listen to the analyst test. They don't want to see Trashy with an early game jungler. Rakan, Zach following up as well. So nothing crazy here yet in the pick ban phase. Just some of the classics.
I feel like Splyce may have to ban the Shen just because Unicorns would be one of the only teams that would first pick it. I think they even did that last week. Yeah, against H2K in Game 3, they first picked Shen when it was available. So if Splyce don't take it away, likely going to be the pickup for Unicorns. Thresh is still not now available as that ban has come through.
Strength of delivery. They're backing you up. Little awkward. Wanted to call it.
It's all good.
Unicorns Love, they don't like it. They don't like how dominant Mikyx was in making plays in the early game. And it looks like Splyce was not happy about how that laning phase went. But taking away the Shen means they give up the Galio, and now Splyce, they get their first choice of jungler, but going toe-to-toe with an incredibly powerful champion.
Could be the Lee Sin coming out here. The Ivern is the other pick that will be available, and I feel like if Unicorns had Ivern, Galio, and Twitch, that would be kind of disgusting. Now, this would be Splyce all-inning on it being a Galio in the top lane.
Yeah, that is aggressive.
So Fiora is a fantastic matchup into Galio in the top lane. But a first pick Galio answered with a first pick Fiora leaves Unicorns one hell of an ability to just say, okay, Exileh, just play Galio for this game and we'll just destroy this
You've been struggling. We're going to give you some free defensive stats. And I like this. I'm going to be honest. I like that they're taking away the Twitch, because right now, if they had just gone Ivern Twitch on the side of Unicorns of Love, I would say GG already. I would say that it is done in draft, short of an absolute miracle for Splyce, but taking away that Twitch takes away the late game potential for Samux.
Yeah, and as you said, takes it away from Samux. I feel like he'll default to the Caitlyn on this rotation if that Ivern gets locked in. They don't want to get that AD carry pool pinched. And then Splyce will likely have to look for a jungler. And this is what we were talking about. I thought Unicorns might leave it a little bit later to take the Renekton. Of course, Fiora late game can do very well into Renekton, but the first 30 minutes of this game is a difficult matchup.
Just so difficult, of course, to parry the Ruthless Predator, which means all the follow-up damage is there as well. Wunder, of course, a really solid Fiora player. We cannot take that away from him, but Vizicsacsi is not to be underestimated. Now, the Ivern may still be on the board. Splyce can opt to take this if they want, but Unicorns of Love, they're like, we'll just get our solo lanes.
I think you pick Lee Sin here if you're Splyce to get at least the advantageous jungle matchup, because then you ban Ivern Graves or Ivern Warwick, and you leave Unicorns without a whole lot of options. But
Interesting.
Trashy feels like if it is an Ivern pick, Gragas will get through the early game of this jungle pretty much unfazed if Unicorns do go like the Ivern route.
And I feel like as critical as the desk was of the Gragas pick, it is still something that Trashy is very good at. So while it may not make the most sense in a let's look at these as 5 generic players playing at the top tier, when you look at Trashy specifically, this Gragas does work for him.
And I think it makes less sense now when you then ban the Ivern away, because you want a farming matchup if you're waiting to get to 6. So maybe if they force him onto a Kha'Zix or something, but Xerxe has Lee Sin and Warwick still available. And Warwick, although he can't necessarily compete with the Gragas,
it does feel a little bad stress when you give over to a team that is played insanely well to protect the AD carry comps.
Oh, yeah.
Ivern, Galio, Caitlyn.
Oh, you are absolutely correct. Like, that's all I'm saying is now the Gragas makes a little bit less sense.
Definitely
than,
fair, definitely fair. Well, Talia's still banned away from Sencux, and it looks like decent priority on his comfort picks once again. More scared of the Talia than the Aurelion Soul, but we may see a Soul ban here as well.
Yeah, I think that would be smart out of Unicorns here. Force Splyce into something like perhaps an Orianna that would come out as a pick for mid lane. Just something very neutral. Of course, the Syndras, the LeBlancs of the world are available, because why wouldn't they be banned away in a game between 2 teams competing at the top level for Europe? But I think Unicorns may even go another route here. If you see something like the Kindred that was banned away from Xerxe in one of the games previously, there are a lot of jungle options for the Unicorns that they have to choose from.
On the one hand, I love Kindred. She's one of my favorite champions. On the other hand, her numbers, I just feel like, are not good enough. But I could be wrong, because I felt the same way about Warwick, and then Xerxe proved me wrong. So there is an opportunity.
Oh, that's a bard. That is a bard locked in for Hylissang. We've seen it in splits gone by.
This is the Unicorns Classic stress.
Yeah.
They have talked about this bot lane endlessly when we asked them about it. They're like, you Bard ult, you get the trap, you get the chain CC. If these guys hit you with any CC, you are locked down for 4 to 5 seconds.
And Twitch has to come forward towards you to actually be effective in a lot of the laning portions here. And if you can land that Cosmic Binding, that obviously puts him in a very vulnerable spot. Even with a Braum alongside him, there is a little bit of, as you said, trading potential utilizing the Bard and the Caitlyn synergy together. It's the Warwick pick coming out from Xerxe, none of the kindreds that we were talking about, but I still think this is the same kind of thing. Warwick can be such a good front line with the fear that Splyce may struggle to get onto that Caitlyn.
But I like this. Splyce now have late game scaling in the bag. They may be a bit weaker in the early game. That is going to be difficult. But we look at that Kassadin in the mid lane. He's just going to get pushed in. He's just going to farm up. There is not kill pressure there right now. But in the top side of the map, similar story for the Fiora, but there's a lot of kill pressure on her if Warwick does want to make a visit. Either way, Stress, they're poised for some action in the early game if Unicorns of Love are looking to win this out.
And this is late game side lane dominance from Splyce. If you wanted to see a comp that late game will 1-3-1 effectively, you have 2 strong side lanes and a disengaged set of tools on both your jungle and your support. So this is Splyce saying if we get past 30 minutes, we are taking over in this game. But they have to get past the Unicorn's skirmishing power and the protection on the AD carry when they're fighting together as one unit. You can't overlook that.
And the playmaking potential in the early game, the double TPs, the semi-global from the Galio, the incredible movement speed. Managers come out to shake hands too.
Hans and Romain.
Rama has his shirt on.
Hans is now going to be busy searching for like snake merchandise.
Yeah, what do we call them? We got the Love Hurts crew. What is the Splyce equivalent, Stress? That's the big question.
Snake bites or something like that?
Could be. Let us know at LOL eSports or show your support. Hashtags. You know where they're at. You've been here before. You know the drill. There's Unicorns guy too. We'll round it out.
He's here.
Well, as you may be able to tell, dear audience, it is a bit of a Unicorns of Love favored crowd, but it's time for game 2, and no matter who you're cheering for, it's gonna be explosive. Splyce versus the Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love running out the base on the blue side, up against Splyce on the red.
Vizicsacsi is a difficult one to chant, but I'll give you credit for trying. It was good.
Remember, it means water donkey, if I believe. So if you're looking for an alternative thing to chant that means the same thing.
You can also chant water donkey at him. I was going to go with you could just chant cha-chi, but, you know, that would be a...
Look, I don't think the Love Hurts crew needs any help cheering for the Unicorns of Love, believe it or not. They are here quite frequently. Every time, actually.
Trashy, if he can't, you know, the headphones block so much of the noise, he might be thinking, oh, they're chanting Trashy if it's Chachi. He might be like, yes, chant for me, audience.
Trashy needs it. Splyce they need a little hype up here. Yeah. You know, they got to be feeling sore after that game because they were just about dead even for most of it. They were fighting back and forth, and even when top lane was looking so bad for them, they struck back in the mid lane. Now, admittedly, Mithy said, just inting a little bit. Now, regardless... Pretty sure it wasn't intentional, but it was a rough game for Exileh, and we'll see if he can do better this time around. There's not a lot of pressure on him in this laning phase.
And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Exileh, not a lot of pressure on him as an individual. Galio should be a more safe mid laner. We're going to talk about bot lane because Hilly...
3 stacks, 4 stacks, that's a lot of damage, but Kobbe's the one taking the back end of this trade. Bard level 1 is so strong. Heals coming out. Hylissang in trouble. 1, 2, 3, looking for the last stack of the concussive blows. A little more damage, does look favorable in the end, but nice pilt over Peacemaker to trade back.
So here's one of the things that will happen from this Twitch now. Although the heal did get used by Kobbe, of course Doran's shield will just kind of regenerate Kobbe's health bar quite quickly up here, as well as Samux now has to output a few more autos to be able to trade back in exchange, because of course he doesn't have the shield, he's got the blade. So over time, Kobbe will get a little bit more out of this Doran shield and health potion start.
But only if he keeps trading, only if he keeps utilizing that passage, and only if he can stop Samux from hitting the minions, because that lifesteal will eventually add up.
It will, but the actual passive regeneration can't be overlooked as well in this sense. Yes, you do get that big burst of regeneration once you've been hit, but still will start chugging up onto Twitch. The problem is they didn't get level 2 at the same time, and now they get zoned away from the lane. So regardless of the health regeneration, Unicorns are dictating the pace of this lane.
And it's very rough. Hylissang just throws out a Cosmic Binding, lands a meat toss, makes it pretty easy, and Sencux doing what he can to pick up the CS here, having to use a lot of his abilities just to farm.
And this is where we wanted to look at in the mid lane as well. One of the reasons why you can pick Kassadin here is, yes, you will get shoved in, but almost every champion will shove in Kassadin in the early game, in the laning phase. But Sencux should be safe to get to a level 6 point and then look to roam, utilize this double TP setup that actually both teams are running. And Sencux should be able to get through the most difficult parts of the game on Kassadin quite easily.
Now moving forward, Express, we look at this. I'm going to be honest, man. This is always the weirdest part of the game because I feel like at any moment people can kill each other, but it's going to be much less bloody. Oh, Samux, that's actually super bad for you. Chain CC doesn't quite come through. It does take a lot of poke. And I'm just ready for fights. Now I'm coming down because we had a Blitzcrank Thresh game last game, and I think I need to calm down because I don't think it's going to be quite as explosive.
I know, I'm still getting baited in. Like, it's, every time a trap lands.
So many early game exchanges. We have a skill matchup on the top side. Nice parry.
That was
Actually,
a good
rather
parry.
not parry. No, didn't actually block anything.
Ah.
So bad parry. Perfect timing by Vizicsacsi. It's hard to tell, man. There's just too many animations to keep up with.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, you're talking about when the explosive action is actually going to come through. Well, we've got junglers about to converge in the top lane, but no ultimates. We're so early on in the game that nobody really can dictate fights particularly well.
Xerxe just hungry and hunting for blood. Now the Warwick, maybe not the conventional pick that we see on the international stage, but in the hands of Xerxe, it is so powerful. Now you look at this. He is the true survivor. That's what we have called him. He did not die at all last game, but this graphic did not feature in last game stats. He's not had more than 3 deaths in his last 31 games. Second lowest death percentage and deaths per game in Summer. He's the only non-AD carry ranked top 10 in death in spring. And the reason this is crazy, he plays melee champions, guys.
Oh, yeah.
He fights constantly, constantly. This man jumps into the face of death, and he comes out every time alive.
It is impressive how well Xerxe has been playing. We, of course, saw him in the TCL doing very well when he would eventually win the TCL before coming to the EU LCS, but we always were talking about how, you know, playing against the likes of Trick, Jankos, it's another level. But this guy took to it like a duck, or I guess a unicorn rubber ring to water, because Xerxe, rookie of the split, first time around, he could even be angling towards that MVP that Chachi got.
That's true.
From spring. Who knows?
We'll see very early in the split to say, and I will say, Stress, technically you can only get rookie of the split in your first go. It's a little bit of the nature of the award, but
hey, but what I'm saying
impressive.
is he won it. He won it the first split.
Came in clutch. Now it's interesting as we look back, game at hand. Samux doing very well in these trades, and Mikyx and Kobbe really suffering against this Bard pick. The Braum just doesn't feel like the team's set up for success on the bottom side of the map, but everywhere else, farm looking pretty even, much less explosive than we saw in the previous game. No roams coming in for either support yet, but Kobbe now in trouble. Unbreakable comes out. Ignite has been used. Thought that trap hit Kobbe, but just going to run off cooldown, and now the fight's going to stop.
This game, you're seeing Xerxe put a bunch of points into the Blood Hunt, the W first of all, trying to get some of that extra movement speed and frighten people with that eerie music that comes through when Warwick is hunting a low health target.
A little extra attack speed too on those low health targets, so helps with the clear as well. You can see on the side there, that's not attack speed, Kassadin, that's as Kassadin, let's be clear here, nothing that crazy. But he's 6-1 overall, and Sencux, and of course all of Splyce, incredibly successful in the past with these 1-3-1 compositions.
Look at Xerxe is level 6 and Trashy is level 4. Like, Xerxe is heavily outfarmed. Here comes an ultimate early on in the game.
Stealth is there.
Trying to find
He can see the trail of blood.
Ooh.
That was a sick read. I cannot lie. Forces the flash out. No vision on the Twitch. Let's be clear here. Just a trail of blood to guide him. More than enough.
And it adds up to a bot lane tower coming from this. Early level 6, or at least much earlier than Trashy, who's been denied on this Gragas. And suddenly, Splyce struggling in the bottom half of the map.
And the desk brought this up. This is a weak early game pick. Gragas needs to farm up, needs a few items under his belt before he really can be relevant in so many scenarios. And this is not a start they can afford to have. Xerxe looking even more confident in game 2 than he did in game 1 and just shutting Trashy down.
And Splyce did not really address the fact that Unicorns still had junglers that could compete somewhat in the early game. Like, they didn't ban the Warwick. They banned the Ivan, which we agree, for the protecting the AD carry in the later game is a great pick to take away from the Unicorns, but Splyce, they're not really going to make it to the late game if this Gragas stays nearly 2 levels behind, because they'll never be able to fight. They won't have a front line with this composition if Mikyx and Trashy are significantly behind.
Now they've moved their bot lane into mid a bit earlier than they wanted to, not even level 6 yet. But for now, if Twitch gets to continue farming, it will be good for Splyce. As you already mentioned, Stress, just got to hold on. Just got to make it to the late game. But already off to an incredibly rough start. You see Fiora falling behind on the top side, and she's not going to get the luxury of keeping up a 1v1 laning phase. May just have to leave here. Trashy is around, however, but just hitting level 6, and he's still so far behind.
The difficulty is there's a bit of a clock on Splyce's hold in the mid lane, because once you've now lost top tower and bottom tower, it means that Fiora and Kassadin will be a lot further back in the lanes for any Rift Herald attempts. And if they're in vision, you can suddenly go for it. Exileh, however, 2 versus 1.
Backs off, wins the ward, dishing good damage back onto Kobbe. Exileh still hungry for a bit of blood. No one's around to back him up, however. Does continue to poke, and Stress, I'm going to be honest, this is looking really bad for Splyce. And it may not look it quite yet, it's only a 2K difference, but they have no pressure anywhere on the map. Not a single one of their champions can 1v1 the opposition right now.
And they need to. They desperately need to in this game. With a Fiora, with a Kassadin, they need to be in situations where they can win trades. And as we were talking about, when now Fiora has to sit under her tower, Kassadin pushes out bottom lane and then recalls, there won't be too many opportunities available for Splyce to have those advantageous positions. Rift Herald will be up soon. Unicorns with a Caitlyn can control mid lane very effectively. Perhaps the only hope is that Unicorns, while their double teleport is still not available, go overly aggressive and Splyce can punish. That might be their only opening in the next couple of minutes.
And we can't forget, Splyce weren't off to a great start in either game either.
Hylissang's
they found
looking
opportunities.
for it.
Trashy. Out comes the Tempered Fate, connects onto the tower. Trash does go down. Not Trash, Trap. Trashy still alive. Does make it out, but there's the synergy between the bot lane that we come to expect, and now Unicorns will love. They're just going to take these free objectives because there's no one around to contest.
Still anticlimactic on the first bot ult of the game, but it's okay. It opens up for the Dragon attempt for the Unicorns. And keep in mind, last game, by this point, we had like 4 team fights happening already. Like Unicorns had picked up a handful of kills, Splyce had traded the same. Now, this has all been about the farm and objective game. You can see that Unicorns heavily winning in the top and bot lanes, but its mid lane is the only thing for Splyce. Sencux has been able to farm up, and even then, it's only a small lead that is offset easily by the towers.
And things are a little bit grim. The good news for Splyce is that once again they have scaling picks, and of course the way that jungle experience works, it's not impossible for Trashy to keep up. It's very hard for Trashy to maintain a large lead over here. He may be able to stay 1 level ahead, but very difficult to maintain a 2-level lead as he did earlier. So things aren't terrible. However, it's not really about fights right now, and Unicorns love, they would win it if they took it, but Splyce just need to find an opportunity to maybe converge on a weaker member, maybe find a pick here, or simply just hold on.
There is going to be an awkward point in this game post about 2 items for the Unicorns, where Caitlyn's not quite strong enough, and unless Chachi can accelerate his lead, might not be strong enough himself to be able to clean up an entire fight. A fight where Splyce maybe can take that would be around about that 16-17 minute mark. So that will be one that Unicorns have to be wary of themselves if they're not getting further and further ahead.
And now they're just going to take the Rift Herald. They're just going to look to continue to extend this lead. They've already got pressure in the lanes. They've already started to break down every single outer tower available. And now they want to get the mid lane, but they're not going to do it with their champions. They're going to do it with our good old friend, the Rift Herald. Splyce, though, they got 3 members strong here. Maybe not aware that the Rift Herald is going down, but they're moving up there on the way in. 2K, TP's coming. Xerxe going to activate, looking for a little bit more. Flashes come out. Mikyx in no man's land has to flash to safety. Kobbe standing back, looking to dish out a little bit of damage. Nothing going to happen in the end, and it's just advantage to Unicorns love.
When they get the wave, though, it should result in that mid lane tower going down here, because they can push towards it.
Ulti canceled. I don't know why people keep doing that. If you get interrupted, it just goes bye-bye, folks. Unicorns of Love giving up a small advantage there. Amazing all by Mikyx. Now they're knocked back into the tower. That could be the fight. That could be the turn. Grand challenge has been issued. Vizicsacsi, the healing is coming through for 4 members strong on the side of Splyce. That's the turn and burn. Man, but you can't disrespect the Kassadin. He's looking for a little bit more blood. Rift Walk, how much does it cost, and does he want to get it? Because Splyce, they're back in the game.
We were talking about how Splyce would be struggling. Unicorns, they could break mid-tower easily. Well, Unicorns botch the fight. The Rift Herald gets cancelled, and Splyce now have the perfect setup in the sense that their Kassadin just got 2 kills way earlier than they would have liked it anyway, and now Kassadin can control that side lane. I don't think Exileh can realistically sit out in a side lane against him, so Xerxe started channeling. Braum, oh, maximum range, denies the channel. As really, that was just a little greedy out by the Unicorns.
You know, we can say teams are still getting used to it for sure. Not everyone aware of the interaction here, but if you get canceled during that channel time, it is over. And if you tower dive a Twitch and a Kassadin this early in the game, no matter what your lead, just does not look like it's going to work out.
And the rest of the fight, Splyce just balance the crowd control, get the damage down, and Splyce come out with the lead coming from that team fight.
And keep in mind, the KD and team fights that you see at the bottom of your screen, that does not include game 1 and the back and forth action, but you can see Unicorns love incredibly dominant in team fight. 2.4 kills for every 1 death they sustain. Splyce, a little less consistent. Some games, they're going to do really well. Some games not as great, and that results in the 1.0. And we'll see. Because right now, it's not a 1.0 game for them for sure. 3 for 1, the exchange.
It's been a lot better for Splyce. I think my favorite one was after week 1. I think Unicorns were like 7-1. But
comes out, slow.
Exileh.
Ran trying to hold on for safety. Samux backing off. They are going to get hit up by the ultimate. Sencux is all but set to fall. Now will he be able to rip off over the wall? The chain CC comes in. He has no option to escape. Kassadin, oh, so mobile, but bye-bye. As the fight continues, however, Kobbe still alive. Trashy trying to hold on. The stealth kind of keep it going. They're trading back and forth. In the end, it's just the 1 for 1.
1 for 1, and again, it's the fact that Splyce try and take this fight. The last one went so well for them. Why not catch out Exileh as he's moving between lanes? Ooh, Wunder not quite able to get onto the cone in time.
He still wants to keep the fight going, however. Vizicsacsi back to the wall, not going to let the grand challenge continue. Vital on the backside, perfect placement. Vizicsacsi, Wunder flashes over. He wants to keep the fight going. It's on the right side, doesn't need it. Grabs the kill, but now the fight just keeps going. Hylissang gets aggressive. Meanwhile, there's a tower going down in the mid lane.
Sencux coming
Stress
in.
is not going to stop. Sencux now hungry for blood, looking to set his eyes on Samux. Out comes the ultimate. Heroic entrance for Exileh. Or rather, just a quick step back. But Wunder and Hylissang playing catch the Bard. Not a very favorable game, as it looks like. There goes the portal. Wunder, don't take that. Yeah, he's learned.
Yeah, Wunder has learned on that one. Trashy was not expecting Wunder to be able to 1v1 him out in the side lane this early on. He'd anticipate it coming later on in the game. And remember, Splyce first picked this Fiora in response to a Galio that they thought was going to the top lane.
I still feel like might be questionable, but when you see it in the hands of Wunder, it does make you think that maybe it was the right choice for this team.
I mean, at this point in the game, you have to look at it that it was the right choice. It's going to take over the side lane, as will this Kassadin, but they thought they were killing Exileh. It takes so long to take down this Galio that Sencux eventually gets locked down. Bard ultimate keeps him in place, and normally the high mobility of the Kassadin wasn't quite enough on this one. And it was enough for Unicorns to be able to turn it back in their favor at first. And then Wunder just out of nowhere blindsides Trashy in the bottom lane for another kill through that. Trashy trying to get his 5 a day on the fruit. But unfortunately, it's not quite enough to deal with what Wunder's bringing to the table on that one. If the Fiora can do this at 15 minutes, that's a bad sign for the Unicorns the longer this game goes on.
And the Fiora could not have done that if it was not for the aggressive plays coming in for Unicorn for love. And as we watch this unfold just a little bit further, we have to remember, this is the kind of thing, these are the kind of mistakes you cannot afford to make against a team that snowballs so heavily. The Kassadin, the Fiora, the Twitch, all champions that if you give them a few kills can take over the game. Splyce still down in gold, however. Unicorns of Love still definitely in control. 3 towers to 0, 2 dragons to 0. They have to be careful moving forward because their side lanes aren't quite as good as they once were.
No, they really weren't. They really aren't anymore. And that's the game that Splyce want to play for the rest of this entire match. I don't want to see them grouping in the middle lane because that means Unicorns will have these exchanges again and again. The problem is Sencux without his TP available means he does have to react towards this midpoint quite often and quite quickly. It's Wunder that needs to be out in the side lane. For now, you can see his bottom lane containing Trashy. And the problem for Splyce is they still feel like they are behind, which they are, 2k gold. So you don't immediately go on the offensive with this 1-3-1. Yes, they control the side lanes, but the midpoint of the map is where Unicorns are still going to try and force them to fight.
And we're just at this break point in the game, Stress, where I feel like Unicorns of Love are definitely winning. but it's not. I'm not confident right now, right? Because it's not a 10 lead. It's not insurmountable. It's not like the Unicorns of Love have this one in the bag. And as we get later and later in the game, the Twitch gets scarier and scarier. Now, admittedly, Caitlyn does pretty well in a lot of situations, but I feel like we're going to have to see how cleanly Unicorns of Love can play from here, if they can keep the lead snowballing, if they can find the fights they want.
I like what Hylissang and Xerxe were trying to do there on the bottom side, trying to catch Wunder from a distance. Of course, difficult to catch a Fiora with a Bard ult. It's kind of easy for her to escape that, but Hylissang trying to attack the side lanes at the same time, trying to really pick apart Splyce. However, he's alone.
Off. Ult does connect, but only onto him in the red buff. Does keep the objective safe for now. Knock back into the team. That's 2 members in the thick of it. Sencux dishing out a decent amount of damage on the backside. Kobbe as well. But in comes Vizicsacsi looking for a little bit more. That's going to be 4 stacks because of blow. Now he's in trouble. Out comes the taunt. It's Exileh blocking for his brother in arms, but there's Sencux on the backside. Force Pulse goes in. The Braum CC just keeps coming. Sencux is waiting for an opportunity. Hunting, and he smells blood in the water. Exileh going to go down, but he goes over the wall. Will he continue the hunt?
He's looking for him, can't quite get the angle on it as the Unicorns went up. But look, now this opens up mid-tower for Splyce. Hylissang went too aggressive over 2 sides of the map. We were praising him for looking to attack the side lane, bottom lane, but then he runs through the enemy topside jungle where he knew a couple of people were waiting, right into the open arms of Sencux, and it turns into a kill going in favor of Splyce. And now that's a tower opening up that Unicorns were looking to hold on to for a whole lot longer.
Now the goal gets even closer. Dead even. The Dragon's the only difference between the team. Baron 30 seconds out will be the next major objective worth fighting for, but Unicorns of Love thought they found the pick, but the pick found them.
Yeah, Hylissang walks into 2 members. It's Trashy and Sencux. Exileh arrives with nobody there as a welcoming party for him, and it really just doesn't end up going in the way of the Unicorns. It's another game where I just feel like Exileh is not performing to what we expect from him. And you know,
to be fair in this fight, he does give his life to save Vizicsacsi.
He does. I wonder whether that's indicative of who's calling that shot coming through. But you look at it, Unicorns are running out of time with this composition for at least a while longer. Like, Caitlyn's an item and a half in. Need to get to that 4-item point. Need to get to the point where Samux can output enough damage on his own that with 4 supports, he can carry a team fight for the Unicorns.
Now Vizicsacsi, though, he's going to be the one who's in trouble. Flashed over the wall. No blast cone this time. Grand challenge issued. 1 vital going to get procs. Not going to need it. Yo,
side lanes,
oh, okay.
Side lanes belong to Splyce. And at this point, Sencux wants to just take the fight mid lane. Wait, Unicorns just jumped in.
Taunt's going to happen. Kobbe's still alive and well on the back line. Xerxe can't find a way into the fight quite yet. That's 2 people knocked up. Mikyx going to keep it because of blow stacks coming up. Ult canceled. That's an awkward one. Exileh trapped in no man's land. He's going to get picked off. Hylissang's going to be scratching his head. That was disastrous.
Speaking of scratching his head, have you ever noticed every time Exileh dies, he scratches the side of his head? Well, it's already happened 3 times.
Well, the rest of his teammates scratch their heads. Things are looking pretty grim. That's a Kassadin on the chase, a Fiora on the chase. Nobody gets away from these champions. Trashy, though, gonna grab it in the end, and Splyce can just turn their sights on Baron. No one is there to stop him.
And look at how well the 1-3-1 style works.
That was a clean Bard stun. They're gonna turn it back. Sencux, you can escape a lot, but you can't outrun a gun. But now, Stress, comes the moment of truth. They're up against a smite. The Baron is steadily dropping. Hans, their manager, is trying to look professional on screen as he holds his hands together, praying for this Baron to go in the favor of Splyce. And now they're gonna have to back off. They're just setting their sights on it. They know this play. They've been here before. They want to turn it back. Exileh in the middle of the team, and he's got a ton of health, but he doesn't have the damage to back it up. Samux over the wall, though, may be able to dish out enough to stop this fight from going against him. Trying to walk back to the fight, trying to get his way out. Justice Punch continuing to tick down, but Kobbe's already got 1. Splyce now find the lead.
It has delayed the Baron successfully for the Unicorns, but they have hemorrhaged the lead that they once had. And as you were saying, Splyce just able to take these fights again and again. 4 kills on their carries, and then 3 kills on Fiora as well. Like, there's so much damage coming from this Splyce lineup that Unicorns are starting to run out of options, especially on these segmented fights. Like, Vizicsacsi isn't even alive, and the Unicorns are in a position that they can get caught out in the mid lane. This is one of the drawbacks of the Unicorn style, is from behind, it can be very difficult. Great cancel on the ultimate there, as Exileh couldn't get himself out, and then Splyce.
I don't think you want to praise the camp.
Oh,
that was Hylissang.
Sorry. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, great for Splyce. Agreed. And now here you hit that point where Kassadin and Wunder just take Kassadin Fiora just take turns 2v1ing champions.
It's been one of those games. Thank you for having my back.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, what a great cancel.
It would have been a great Bard ult if it was the right person, and now Vizicsacsi is going to need more than just a great ult. It's not enough, because Splyce are going to grab yet another kill, and Sencux and Wunder are out of control this game.
Like, this game theoretically should be done in favor of Splyce with the way that they're holding on to this. But when have you ever seen a 14 kill to 3 lead only result in 2,500 gold? That is how the Unicorns have been really utilizing some of the extra farm they had in the early game, the tower advantage they once had. They've still had the 2 dragons up as well. Splyce have just been good at fighting back.
Yeah, and we have to praise Unicorn so love for playing such a smart macro game early, for just punishing the weaknesses of Splyce's composition. But now that we're in the mid game, now that Splyce are the stronger ones, things are starting to fall apart a little bit. Unicorns love a little too hungry to fight or find those fights now. And now you've got the 2-man death brush. And here you don't need CC, folks. You've got pure damage. Death is the best CC.
There's a couple of slows in there. Chachi is really kind of lamenting this Renekton pick. They thought it would work well for the Unicorns.
Hey, you remember when you destroyed me in lane as Shen? Yeah, here's a little payback, says Wunder. He leaps forward, but Galio may be looking to turn it. They have the chain CC to keep this going. Will he be able to get to parry? Does parry the Justice Punch and just walks right on out of the fight. And here comes the Bard. Now Wunder leaping back in. He knows he has to fight. He knows he has to make a stand. That's the shutdown for Exileh. That's the play we're waiting to see. Fear goes in. Does not matter. Warwick going to follow. Chain CC comes out. Sencux trying to get a kill back, trying to weave, trying to bob, trying to find his way in. Not going to get it. Xerxe grabs it in the end, but the Baron now in the sights of Splyce. They're going to have to back off. Vizicsacsi and Samux are already in position.
Or Splyce, they're spreading themselves too thin on the map here. I like what they were attempting with the attempted play onto Vizicsacsi, but Unicorns reacted in time. Exileh got his ult there in enough time to respond, and Unicorns now are the ones that are looking for this Baron. Perhaps they have everybody still alive. Still 20 seconds on Sencux, 10 seconds on Wunder. This might be what Unicorns need to secure the lead once again.
Double stun comes in. Hylissang doing his best to buy a bit of time, but he doesn't lock up Trashy. Can he steal the Baron? Where's he going to go? Over the wall. Does he have the flash? Can he make it in? Not going to be able to make it quite yet. Waiting, holding on. The taunt. He flashes into the pit. In the end, Unicorns gets it. It's a sloppy fight. But now Mikyx is on the front line. Kobbe on the way in. Wunder on the way in. Can't afford to take the portal. And it's a bloodbath. But Unicorns love are the one who grabbed the Baron. But now they're going to have to be careful because here comes Kobbe. Not quite enough damage to dish out.
Unicorns will get away with 4 members with the Baron, and from what has been a crazy game 1 into a just as crazy game 2. A lot of fights over the last 10 minutes. Difficult to keep track of everything going on. Just take a break for a moment. Let's take another look at this.
We'll look at this one more time, and you can see it. Blood in the eyes of Splyce. They're a little too hungry for this kill.
They didn't really react to the Galio being close enough, half the map away. Good parry on the Justice Punch, but at that point, Splyce now can't cross enough distance to get themselves out. So they try and kind of fight, try and get Sencux out alive. But look, the team were on Baron at the same time, but there was enough time with the teleport coming through from Vizicsacsi that they could hang on. And Unicorns are the big benefactors of this entire play by Splyce because, again, not enough people to defend against the Baron play, and they got out with 4 members. As Unicorns knew that they could take this down. Trashy tries to get in for his steal and just takes way too much damage at first. Taunted up, tried to get in, was on time but couldn't quite get the smite down. Exileh managed to secure that, and then Splyce pick up a couple more pieces from the end of it, but Unicorns still come out ahead.
We set our sights back on the game. Sencux gonna have to back off here. He may be strong, but really just good at killing those squishier members of the team. Can't quite fight the dual tanks of Vizicsacsi and Exileh. Bruiser builds, making it pretty easy to keep this going. Samux now moving forward incredibly aggressively, but does take half the health off Kobbe for nothing in exchange, so it does work out for him. Heal burn from Kobbe as well.
Samux is getting closer to that point, looking for that rapid fire static shiv combo on the headshot. Now Chachi's got to be careful.
Sencux, though, giving a lot of respect over. Doesn't want to jump into no man's land, and now they're just going to set their sights on tier 2. Splyce gonna have to back off here. They may have a lot of dueling potential, but they don't have a lot of wave clear here. No real good options against this Baron.
There are only a handful of wards behind the Unicorns as well, so Splyce can't really quite get that teleport play coming through from Sencux. Unicorns, this was what they were looking to kind of keep the game in their favor. Splyce had really started to snowball heavily off those kills and were trying to drag things out to the side lane. With that Baron buff, though, they're not able to. For another minute, it means Splyce is stuck reacting to what the Unicorns are doing.
Yeah, nothing feels quite as bad as a 1-3-1 composition against a Baron buff. They're playing pretty well. Ultimate is going to come out. Now Mikyx is locked up under tower. That's the Twitch taken out of the fight. That could be huge for the fight, but Wunder is continuing to look to dish out damage. Kobbe now flashes forward. They're knocked back. In the middle of it, Splyce. Absolute monsters in this exchange. Now looking for a little bit more. Wunder looking to find the flank as well. It's just going to heal up for now. Sencux moving forward. Kobbe moving forward. Vizicsacsi trying to turn it. Samux looking for an opportunity to dish out the damage. He flashes in. Samux wants to get a little bit more. Can he keep the fight going? Trashy on the tails. Hylissang going to find the stun. They're trying to turn it. The two-man duo. It's not enough. Kassadin coming in. They're just going to chase down Hylissang at this point. Blast Cone comes out. Magical Journey. Will it be enough? Bard so quick to get away. They're going to chase him down.
It's Kassadin.
I don't think you can outrun a Kassadin. Hylissang, another portal.
No.
Makes it over the wall. Stun. Now slid up a little bit. Sencux moving forward. Hylissang, how long's the cooldown, bud? How long you got? Nope, not going to get it. That's the ace from Splyce in the end.
Nice attempt. Takes a lot of time away from Splyce, but there are only 2 members alive. So watch this as Exileh goes in. He tries to defend here. Shield of Duran comes out, and Xerxe, he's hungry like the wolf, goes aggressive at this point. But then Unicorns, remember, it was the 90s that they were relevant last in the music scene, and Splyce turned things back around for the aggressive play themselves. It's easy for this point for Kobbe Sencux to output damage in response, but wait for the comeback talk, because here comes Samux into the fight as the Caitlyn. This is the point we were talking about, where Samux should be able to carry fights on his own, but he's having to deal with a fed Kassadin. That's not going to end well for them, and Splyce are able to tear apart the Unicorns at the one strength we were talking about, as Hylissang gives them the runaround for the rest of this fight. But look, Splyce with the Fiora, with the Kassadin, have so much damage output that it is incredibly difficult for Samux to do it all on his own.
Look at Samux. You got to praise him. Look at that damage in the last fight. That man is the only reason Unicorns loved it as well as they did. But while we're looking at the Twitch, Wunder is dishing out so much damage. Trinity Force, Ravenous. He doesn't need any tanky items. The Trashy wants to start a fight. Samux may just get deleted instantly. The Galio ult comes out. He's trying to save him. Sencux gonna hold on for now. Where's the taunt gonna go? He's locked up. The chain CC comes in. Samux is still alive. Isn't gonna get the heal though. That could be massive. Wunder now moving forward. The Caitlyn continues to dish out damage. Kobbe on the backside as well. Grand Challenge has been issued. That's the healing for the team, but now they're in the middle of it. Now they're feared up, and Samux is still alive, but he backs out, gets shut down, and Splyce, they take control. Now they're looking for Hylissang. I don't know if they're going to find it, but Unicorns love. They're going to have to run away, because there's really no options left. Kobbe comes over the wall. Bye-bye, Hylissang. Hello, Splyce. That's going to look good for the team.
That should be enough to break through the mid lane. It likely won't result in an inhibitor, so that means this game is going longer. There's still 1 minute 30 for the Baron buff to be available. And honestly, Splyce are showing they have this immense strength from their top and mid lane, but Unicorns, their team fighting is strong enough that they hold them through. This was a fight that engaged onto their AD carry to start things. Then Sencux cuts off Samux' exit path. This Bard ult is a great Bard ult because it actually denies Kobbe's ability to spray and pray all the way through this corridor for a while. However, he manages to catch up, gets the damage output, and Samux looks like he's maybe in a safe spot, but there's nobody to protect him apart from that trap line in front. The Unicorns end up falling, but Splyce didn't have enough to crack the base.
And Samux, he's still alive on the backside, but he doesn't have the luxury of hitting everybody like the Twitch does, and it's just so brutal for this team because Samux, he's the lone reliable source of damage. Woo! You can see it on your screen, but let me tell you a little bit about the Lord and Savior of Splyce. My man Twitch on the bottom side. This character in late game fights is gross. There's just nothing you can do about it.
There are not many fights where we show a damage after the fight graphic that has over 10,000 damage on one player alone, but Kobbe is 9-1-9. just the amount of damage output from Spray and Praying, it just straight through everybody on the Unicorns in that passage. And remember, that was after a Bard ult hit him to begin the fight when everybody was clumped. That could have been even
you're
more.
gonna need a few more seconds of taking the Twitch out of the fight if you want to win right now. Now, Unicorns of Love, they're not 100% out of the game, but things are looking dire. 3K gold deficit, but now they're going to try to take Baron. Now they're going to try to find a way back. They see Wunder on the bottom side. They say, this is our opportunity.
It's absolutely an opportunity, but I don't know whether it's one that they really want to take here. It's a bit of a 50-50.
Have to be careful. Fight coming in. Wunder on the way. Xerxe backing off. Ultimate does connect on Samux, but no one else going to pull the trigger. Kobbe, ult does go up. This is the possible opportunity. Can they lock him down? The GNCC is going in. Galio's trying to find the grand entrance, but he cannot get it. Now the damage continues to come out. It is not just about Kobbe. It is about Sencux. It is about Wunder. It is about 3 impossible to duel members and an amazing fight for Splyce.
Yeah, Splyce just too strong on their carries. We looked at how Unicorns had managed to hold the game close for the majority of this, but how do you deal with a 6-2-15 Fiora, a 7-4-14 Kassadin, and a 10-1-13 Twitch? The answer, unfortunately, for the Unicorns in Game 2 is you can't.
Unicorns of Love could not afford to make a single mistake against a composition like this, but unfortunately one was all it took before Splyce started to take over the game, and here we are, folks. We are going to a Game 3.
There's been nothing orthodox about these games. We just saw Splyce first pick Fiora, have it then picked away from them in the sense that a Renekton gets taken on the other side, and they dominate the Unicorns in team fights. They didn't even need to 1-3-1 that game.
I'm gonna be honest, Stress. I don't think Unicorns of Love can afford to continue to build compositions where they only have one damage threat if it's not gonna be that Twitch. And even then, it feels a little rough for the team because when it came to those mid to late game team fights, yes, you have enough damage to kill a Kassadin and a Fiora if you can lock them down. But then if you kill them, the Twitch kills you. And it's just this impossible triangle where you pick one side and the other two just kill you every time. It feels like there was no right way out once Unicorns of Love fell behind.
Yeah, and Unicorns of Love from the top side of the map this time. We praised how Xerxe hadn't had more than 3 deaths in a game, really. 7 deaths on that one. Chachi was 0-8.
Well, that's going to be the game that ends the streak then. Splyce with the series on the line, pulled off a clutch performance. Let's send it to Shocks and Friends for the full story.
Thank you so much. And Xerxe, the man on your screen, racked up the most deaths in his LCS career after we were praising him so hard in
bad about
game number 1. Hey, Foxy had 13 deaths and he
That's
still
true.
won the
He
game.
won the game.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, that's actually the funny part about Warwick. Because when you're ahead early game, oh my god, you look fantastic. When you fall behind, you're super useless in team fights.
And we are going to get the picks and bans up in just a second because I want to kind of look at them in terms of risk versus reward, because it seems like there were a couple of picks that if they get rolling, that's amazing. But if they don't, then it's not the best perks. What kind of risks we're taking in this pick and ban from both teams?
Okay, so first, Unicorns first picks Galio, which is like super OP champ, I think, right now. And then Splyce picks Fiora, which is like counter to Galio, but I don't know if it's like... Galio can be flex picked to mid too. So Fiora really is like really meh pick. It's really risky because you get you lose lane to most of the champs like Renekton or I don't know, Queen top or Lucian top, whatever someone wants to pick, you know, to cheese. And he did lose lane, and every other lane lost too because they picked Kassadin to Galio, which is like a farm matchup for Kassadin. But Galio can always push and roam and pressure silence. So it's as good as it is for Kassadin, it's really good for Galio because Galio has zero worries of getting ganked or anything. So I think it was just a really good job for Unicorns.
Maybe, just maybe, when Splyce picked Fiora there, they actually thought we will just put Fiora wherever Galio goes. And they took the risk. And once they saw the Renekton, they decided, okay, I can play... Wunder killed Chachi later solo, right? So maybe Wunder just said, yeah, I can play top, don't worry. You can counter pick mid. And then they just picked Kassadin mid. I still think that Unicorns won the draft really hard. The bot lane matchup was horrible for Splyce, and their bot lane could have basically taken every tower in the game, literally every tower in the game, and every objective, but they just failed to execute.
So before we get to the tower taking point, we want to look at Xerxe specifically in the early game, because not only did Unicorns have 3 winning lanes, they also end up having a jungler who gets super far ahead, guys.
Yeah, so Xerxe was really smurfing in the early game. Like, he chased kind of Alec. like he cheesed the Trashy by taking his Raptors and going straight into blue, and taking his Braum, then doing his own red buff into Wolves, so he took his whole topside jungle too, and then he went and took his Raptors on a respawn, I believe.
Yeah,
he took
at
his
4:30.
At 4:30, he took his Raptors instantly, and then he based for his Tiamat, which is like the biggest Warwick power spike. And then what he did was really interesting because he took his Raptors really fast, and then he went and deep warded enemy jungle, but Trashy didn't base yet, and took his Gromp. So Trashy was now 2 levels down of XP and completely destroyed in the early game. So Xerxe basically won the whole early game and could see where enemy jungle was all the time. And if you can see where the enemy jungle is with the winning lanes, it's really good.
Yeah, like you were saying, on top of that, they had two pushing lanes, which was three actually. Three pushing lanes. They knew exactly where Gragas was. Gragas is not even an early game champion, so they could have definitely taken every tower in the game, every Drake, every Herald, even though there's only one. They could have just known.
Question though, Perks, you say cheesing and smurfing. I think it's funny when you say Xerxe smurfing because he was like the rookie of the split. And does that come from kind of a? It's still surprising you that he's able to do this well?
I mean, I don't think this was so hard what he did. I just think he played by the plan that what he was supposed to do. Even though I think that Splyce should have expected it, and Trashy should have noticed his team that like he should ward the blue buff entrance or something, so they could see that it's happening.
All right, moving forward, Kassadin's in the game, guys. He's doing not too much until
I made
then.
it very clear to Perks that Kassadin on stage against European teams can actually get really fed. So this is after they take bot tower and top tower, and Unicorns so far were doing a lot of things correct. Here they actually end up greeding for this tower so much. Great ulti by Trashy, obviously. And then suddenly you're stuck on the tower. Kassadin picks up 2 kills. At this point, they're actually still taking damage from the tower. It's only when the fight ends, they end up getting out, but they've already lost so many guys. And then right after, more fighting is suddenly happening. And this is a big problem for Unicorns of Love all of a sudden.
You know what I blame it on? I blame it on Unicorns having so good draft that they did not know what to do because Herald was not even up when they went mid there. They could not get Herald because it had not spawned yet, and they had already every tower in the game. So then they just ran mid without Herald, and they lost the fight. If they waited 1 more minute, they could have gotten Herald, and then there was no chance for Splyce pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. But on a serious note, I think Unicorns just overstepped their boundaries really, really far. And if they backed out on mid wave and went to push silence again, they can just walk mid again while Splyce has to catch side waves, and then they can either hit mid turret or go to Herald. So they had so many choices, and they just threw the lead. And their comp is not really forgiving, so they have to play perfectly.
Because we have to remember Splyce, Kassadin, Fiora as well. So what happened right after was Fiora solo killed the Renekton, and then suddenly Splyce are actually in a massive lead with a much better late game comp.
Twitch, Fiora,
Fiora,
Kassadin,
yeah, you can just keep
Braum.
going at that point. It's just so heavily in their favor. So the last few replays we have is just them, with some of these last late game fights, even though there were some close ones because Unicorns with Samux were trying really hard to get back.
And Samux did still play those team fights really well.
Huge props to him.
Yeah, actually, almost turning the games around.
Definitely,
turning the fights rather around. So we're going to take a look at those replays in just a second because it was super close in gold still, by the way, at that point. So it could have gone either
But
way.
you gotta keep in mind, Unicorns were really far ahead, and that was then Splyce getting back into the game, and with obviously much better late game carries.
And Kobbe played this fight good too. He flashed over the Bard Q and the trap.
And Trashy goes here for a very good ult, cancelling the Warwick ultimate too.
And we know
Great stuff.
Trashy's good at Gragas, so.
He's actually had quite a few of those in this game here, setting up kills. Then Samux takes over.
This
the
was
fight.
really sick by Samux.
Samux is just smurfing. I can't believe it.
This, then portal.
They're all smurfing.
Wunder makes the classic mistake of taking the portal, which means you're gonna get barred.
Yeah,
It's done every time.
If I was the Fiora, Mitty would play me. Don't take the portal, guys.
I really get so triggered when
You just have
people
to not take the portal.
Oh my god, it's so triggered.
Guys, Bard is only useful if you take the portal.
But don't people know that if you take the portal, you get stunned? Like, is
But
it
in
that
his
hard?
mind, he's gonna instant riposte.
No, you
But he
can't.
can't.
You
That's the
can't.
problem. But in his mind, Mithy, in his mind.
Oh, it's so stressful to watch. My teammates do the same all the time.
So, Unicorns of Love had a fantastic draft. I don't think you guys are being...
No, they had a great.
yeah, they did have a great draft, and Splyce still managed to beat them. So they should win Game 3. What do you guys think?
I think it's quite demoralizing for Unicorns, honestly. If I was in Unicorns, I would be like, oof, we are really bad, guys. We really have to like rethink ourselves right now.
If I was Chachi, I would have a tough time playing Game 3. After Game 1, his team lost him his lead, and this game he had what people would call a good matchup for himself, and died 1v1. I would,
All right,
I
so
would be going tough into game
Call
3.
it.
You know?
UOL or Splyce?
I was for Splyce all along.
Well, I was Unicorns all along, but I'm Splyce fan right now.
I'm going Unicorns, man. They're gonna bounce back.
All right, let's see what happens. Splyce and the Unicorns of Love, they are getting ready for the deciding game in this series. We will be right back. Don't go
Oh, Jesus
anywhere.
face, it's over.